So I'm standing on this mountain, and I'm up to my calves in water, ankle deep in mud. And I've got a really big day ahead of me. So I'm taking a moment to gather myself. And I open my eyes, and I see off in the distance those colorful prayer flags flying off in the wind. And I can smell the rich smoke of incense still wafting through the air from the morning ceremony that we had to bless this first day of planting rice. I'm in Nepal studying regenerative agriculture and how to save seeds. So the local villagers are gathered, and they're going to feed their community for the year, but they also get to train in the foreigner. So the first thing I learn is you plant backwards in the paddy so you don't trample your work. And also making beautiful diamond patterns. At one point I look up and I think, wow, they are so unified and synchronized. They look as graceful as swans. I get the job of planting the terrace edges, and I think, all right, they see my talent. And it's true, I'm meticulous. But it turns out it's actually because I'm slow. I'm just glad to be one of the flock who call the day done in the afternoon and go home. But I stay out in the paddy practicing and practicing until the sun sets, driven by that part of me who just really wants to experience the power of that synchronized teamwork of the fast swans tomorrow. So this is the beginning of a decade of leading farm teams, which was perfect. It combined my passion for food crops that rice showed me with my yearning to serve people. At one point, I got this incredible gig as farm manager at a diverse workplace in my birth country, the United States. Our mission was to learn on the land with intertribal youth so they can reclaim rightful wisdom. I know myself to be the easy to talk to, understanding, and encouraging leader. But one day, all of that changes. When our director walks in and asks me to leave for the day so that she can investigate an allegation that's been made against me. I later learned that one of my teammates felt that I was treating them differently based on race. The majority of me responds within myself saying, no way, I'm a good person. I've spent years being taught in Indigenous ceremony, seasons rematriating seeds home to their original native nations. I'm working and standing for us to rise together. But then there's that part of me that wonders, that knows bias is often implicit. Am I somehow demeaning someone? But the part of me that took over all of this is one many of us might relate with. That part who's really good at seeing everyone else's part in the problem and focusing on that, which makes it pretty hard to address your own part. So I left that workplace a few months later, as you might have guessed, never having resolved the issue. But a new doorway opened in my mind after this, first bringing me back to childhood, when I devoured everything I could about Harriet Tubman, conductor of the Underground Railroad. I was in awe, still am, by the fortitude she had to put her own life on the line to lead dozens of other families from the vile clutches of slavery. And now life was orchestrating, showing me that I, Korbin, had some part in all of this that my hero was standing up for, standing up against. So I decided that I wanted a working definition And this is what I found. Racism is a form of prejudice that comes with negative emotional responses and reactions and stereotypes towards a group of people that sometimes leads to violence. My spiritual path at this point was centered in nonviolence. It was working me to take accountability for all of my daily drama, which invited that part of me pointing its finger to take a seat. And in that moment, I decided I wanted to commit to finding and addressing whatever part of racism I carried. So what better place for me to start than where my ancestors come from? I began in Europe, first in Norway, where I was led to pivot from farming to leadership coaching, which I then did in 5 more European countries before coming back to the States. You know that expression, seek and ye shall find? I was seeking a way to find and address whatever root of racism I carried, and I found a way. So it comes from both a therapy and coaching framework called internal family systems, or parts work. This is my best distillation of this framework from my first few thousand hours spent as both receiver and facilitator. So the first thing is that this framework is for everyone, because racism is in our shared environment. It's like if we were fish, it's in the water in which we swim. Richard Schwartz, the founder of Parts Work, he tells it like this. He puts all of the isms, including classism, ageism, sexism, and racism, so on. He calls them legacy burdens. So a legacy is normally something we inherit as a gift, but racism is a burden that we've inherited together. Whether we want it, or see it, or not. So how do we inherit this burden? Well, this was brand new information for me. No whole person inherits racism. Only parts of us do. So what are parts? Well, we can cue back the diamond. We're multifaceted like a jewel. We have many parts of ourselves or aspects that develop different roles along the line of our life to help us survive, make sense of the world. They often have conflicting beliefs and emotions. And you hear it in common language all of the time. Like, maybe a part of you really wants to be a game warden because you love tigers, but another part of you doesn't like that plan so much. So how then do these certain parts of us inherit racism? It can happen all along the line of our development. So maybe when we're young and first expressing a childlike curiosity, we see someone not our race for the first time, and we ask our caretaker, why does that person look like that? And our caretaker responds, maybe shutting us down, maybe feeling shame, guilt, maybe repeating the same prejudiced things they heard their caretaker say. And our psyche is set up in that moment to go, I sense extreme beliefs and emotions in my tribe around me. I know what I'll do. I'll take all of it on so I can continue to belong, but I'll give it to this part over here because it's pretty heavy. It can carry all of that. So these parts shoulder the agenda to belong to our group. That's what they're good at. When I first did this work, I heard the voices of my grandparents, almost word for word, talk about conflicting feelings, because I have so much love for them, and also so much anguish that this was past. And then there's forgiveness. Thank you. And there's also really good news now, which is that in the center of all of these parts and their roles and agendas, self is there. Capital S. Our pure essence. Our inner leader. And the difference between self and parts is that self doesn't have an agenda. Self is. Self feels whole and safe and connected. Self has all of the attributes that a society with racial equality would have, like curiosity to get to know someone different from us, compassion to understand them, courage to take care of them at all costs, and clarity to know that them is us. Fun fact, most people, when you ask them where they feel self, they say here, on their heart. This is where the magic happens. This is where we bring those burdened parts of us for a new role, a new day, and unburdening. So how does that work? First, we extend unconditional welcome to those parts of us, which is sometimes countercultural for our inner world. Like when I did this, I found those racist parts of me had been completely exiled from the rest of my system because I had other parts of me that didn't like that, didn't agree with that, didn't want that. So this reminds me of my friend Ianna from Finland. I can hear her accent in my head. I love her so much. Saying, we get more of what we focus on. When we focus on anti-war, we're focused on war. It's pro-peace. It's not anti-racism. It's pro-taking care of all of my kin. And that starts within us. It's no longer anti this part, it carries this really heavy load. It becomes this part needs my love and attention. So we cozy up, and then we extend that curiosity. And we say, what stories do you carry, burdened one? What beliefs and emotions go along with that? And little by little, we have to have some patience now. But we allow self to be like a holy janitor, cleaning up all the untruths and making space for something new. So these parts of us get a new lease on life. They get a new role. Does anyone remember what they're good at? Please, someone. Belonging. Yes. They are good at belonging. So what they end up wanting to do is join the other parts of us whose mission it is to extend that unconditional welcome and belonging to other people. What a gift. And each of us can take this tangled knot and take whatever strands life had us inherit and maybe tie some prayer flags on it, liberating that and turning it into something new. So the next time that you catch yourself thinking a prejudiced thought, or perhaps more likely, you notice yourself focusing on someone else's prejudice, I invite you to turn your attention inward, maybe put your hand on your heart, and call on your inner leader, self, to shine their love light there. So we started in the muck, and we're going to end there too. But this time, we're not going to pass it just as muck to the next generation. Au contraire. We're going to break the boundaries between us and join hands and take that muck to the unseen compost pile, where we're going to plant some seeds that make flowers for our one diverse human family. Because as each person transforms their inner world, as each of us transforms our inner world, so our outer world becomes.